I'm Brian. I work at United Healthcare.
So Brian, why do you care?
I care because I don't want to leave anybody behind. I oversee one of the biggest resource centers in United Healthcare. I see people walk in my office every day, just like my parents. They have no idea about the healthcare. I feel like they are my uncles, aunties. I treat these people like family. I'm Brian, and I'm committed to care.
Welcome to Trip Tales, Kelsey Unpacked, where we go a little deeper into all things travel and life. From my trip planning process to favorite travel gear, vacation style, mindset, and everything in between. Buckle up, it's time to unpack some stuff. Hey everyone, welcome into another episode of Kelsey Unpacked. Today I want to talk about traveling for kids' sports and activities. I know a lot of us do this, and some of us may not have quite dipped our toe into this yet. So I just want to talk about my experience, how we pay for it, how it was different than I expected, and how I have fully leaned into it at this point. I can remember my very first out-of-town dance competition where I had to stay overnight out of town, and it was like all new for us. We were going to Orlando. It was just my oldest daughter and I, and at the time she was like 9 years old, maybe 10. She was young. And I was kind of newer to the team, so you kind of like don't know exactly what's going on. You don't know who your people are yet. And what I have to say is my expectation, for whatever reason, I don't know why, looking back now, was that I would have some sort of control over this weekend. I remember I had looked up the hotel and I'm like, oh, they have this nice sushi restaurant. One night my daughter and I will get sushi. There's a pool. We can hang by the pool. I had even looked up some other great restaurants in the area that if we didn't have a rental car, we could just Uber to. I had big plans for my daughter and I. And pretty quickly, once we got there, I realized this was all about her. There was no, this is what we're going to do. This was my plan for the day. That all went out the window so quick. And now I know that's the expectation. But my first time, I was a little like, wait, but what about what we want to do for dinner? So remember, she swam and I'm trying to like mingle and make friends with new, teammates and parents and find our way. And then I had no plans to do this, but a handful of the girls her age were begging to go to Disney Springs. And it was just the parents were like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing. So my daughter and I get ready. We need to Uber. We end up Ubering with another dance friend of hers and her dad. And we all go over to Disney Springs. And for whatever reason on this trip, it was really odd. There was actually a handful of dads. Normally a dance competition weekend, it's like a lot of moms, obviously. But for this particular weekend and the group she was hanging out with, and I didn't know them that well yet, it was a few dads. And so we get to Disney Springs and I proceed to follow these teen girls around with these three dads that I don't really know for hours. And I am just like, this is not what I had in mind. Of course, they're like begging for things from all the shops like Lululemon and H&M and whatever shops are all in Disney Springs. We end up eating together and I am just making small talk with these dads. And I'm like, this is my life now. I remember texting my husband, like, I have been walking around Disney Springs with three dads for hours. And it was just like my first introduction into these weekends, which really are all about the kids. And it just took experiencing a few of them to change my expectations completely. Know that you really can't make any plans. This is all about the kids and their time with their team and their friends. And you pretty much are the wallet and the Uber driver that just follows them around. You are their ATM and you are their ride. And that's kind of all you are. So, on today's episode, I want to unpack what these sports and activity weekends are really like. I have some funny hotel stories. Oh my gosh, some food stress. Trying to eat with these big groups is not something that I am a huge fan of. But then also all the fun memories that come with it with your kiddo when you completely release expectations and just go all in and let the weekend and the plans happen organically for your kid. I feel like for me, after doing a bunch of these now, so we have travel soccer for my son and travel competition dance for both my daughters, is I had to have a big mindset shift, which is the more you make it about them, the better these weekends get. If you try to keep any control or make this about yourself, it's not going to go well. But if you make it completely about them and lean into how much fun they're having, how great of an experience this is for them, then the whole weekend gets better for you. One thing I've noticed is that their favorite parts of an out-of-town trip would probably be things that you would never choose. So an indoor pool at a subpar hotel. Never a choice of mine. That hot, steamy room with a pool that you're not sure when the last time it was treated was. It's typically an odd color, quite green, maybe a little dirty, and they are all about it. Also, they love to run around the hotel, just run around the hotel. When they're little, you kind of have to follow and chase them and know where they are. But once they get to be about 10, which is where my son's at, you're just good luck, keep your Apple Watch on. That does help. Once they get a phone or a watch, you can actually find them and reach them. You're a little don't get into trouble, don't be too loud, but have fun. Again, something you would never choose, to run up and down the hallways of a hotel. However, this does provide for some time for the adults to hang out. So what I found on both soccer and dance trips is once the kids are kind of settled, whether they've swam or we've all had dinner, parents tend to congregate in the lobby while the kids hang out for a little longer. When it's soccer boys, they are running around the hotel for hours. When it's the dance girls, sometimes they are off in an open ballroom doing dance tricks. Or sometimes someone will bring a pack of cards and they'll be laying around playing cards, filming funny videos and TikToks. Regardless, the parents tend to congregate in the lobby, whether there's a restaurant and a bar or not. People will bring beverages or people will order stuff, and the parents will sit around and chit chat and hang out while the kids are having their own fun. And I do recommend leaning into these moments because this is when you really get to know people on your team. You get to know different parents. In both my experiences on dance and soccer, it can feel really awkward to join a competition team because you show up and all these people are already friends. Groups have formed. I would try to steer away from the impression that people have cliques that you can't get into. It does kind of feel like that, but at the end of the day, they are just people who have gotten to know each other and gravitate towards each other at these events. Nobody's trying to keep anybody out or exclude anybody, but I understand from experience that it can feel like that when you first show up. It's extremely intimidating. But my best piece of advice is just to walk up to those groups. And on both soccer and dance, at the beginning, I would just kind of be a floater. I would go around to all different groups to try to get to know them because naturally you are going to gravitate towards certain people and it's hard to figure out who those people are at first. So even though it's so intimidating, if a group of women are having lunch at a table and you don't know them, they also don't know you. And so you just got to walk up to them and say, "Hi, my name's Kelsey. I'm Kate's mom. I wanted to come say, hey, I haven't met you guys yet." Nobody's going to think that's weird or inappropriate. And they'll probably even say, "Hey, pull up a chair." And then you've got an hour where you're getting to know a new group of people and maybe finding some new friends on that team. And the evening lobby hangouts, People will sit around fire pits. Trying to join those conversations and just make yourself vulnerable and just show up, even if you don't know people yet, is a great way to form those connections on the team.
I'm Spencer, and I work at United Healthcare.
So Spencer, why do you care?
I care because my daughter, Adeline, has special needs. I am motivated by Adeline, who inspires me every day. I am driven to help families like mine navigate the healthcare system. I'm so blessed to lead an amazing team at United Healthcare focusing on the member experience and making that better. I'm Spencer, and I'm committed to care.
Another thing that tends to happen is people need to figure out how to feed everybody. Now, I have some advice for this just because this part really stresses me out. I don't know why, but when 30 people try to go to the same restaurant, that just doesn't work for me. But I do it because that's what's happening. But in particular, my son's soccer team, they love to try to all eat together, at the same table or two. And there's typically 30 people. So they will call a bunch of restaurants and try to make a reservation for 30. Can you even imagine? I'm always sweating when people are telling me the plan. And it never fails that when all 30 of us show up, they're never ready for us. They're also a little why did we commit to this? And then sometimes they have a few big tables, and then it's kind of a awkward rush to who's going to sit where, and are the boys going to sit together? And then comes the ordering and trying to get all your stuff on one ticket. My kid's way over there. My husband's sitting with the guys. I'm sitting with the girls. Every time I feel like I need to take control. I know I don't, but I just sit there squirming, thinking this is painful for everybody. It's painful for me. It's painful for the servers. I mean, the boys, that's the only person that it's not painful for. They're having a great time. But I do have some tips and tricks for this. One thing that works really well is for one parent to order everything for your ticket. So no matter where anybody's sitting, you decide who's going to be that person for your group. And when they come around, you order your kids' food. And if there's another parent there, their food and yours, and they bring everything to you, and then you distribute out. That has worked well at many of these large dinners. Another thing that works well, if the restaurant wants to do it, is just taking each kid's order from that huge kids table, giving them their ticket at the end, and they bring the ticket to you, and you just combine a couple bills. That works well. One other thing that's worked for us is using jersey numbers. So they'll come around and I'll say, okay, I'm going to have a burger. My husband will say, I'm going to have a burger. And then we say, go ask number 40. And then they go ask number 40. I know this sounds really chaotic, and trust me, it's as chaotic as it sounds. I am always get me out of here ASAP. But again, I've completely given up on me having control over where we eat, when we eat, who we eat with, and how it goes. And I'm just kind of along for the ride, whether it's how I would do it or not. Now, another thing I really like, I've seen other teams do this, and we don't do this as much on either of my kids' teams right now, but I notice a lot of teams bringing food into the hotel. And I think that is really smart. Of course, you want to get out, but it is so, like I've said, complicated to do these big dinners. At this last soccer tournament we were at, I saw one group bring in tons of pizzas. And it's pizzas are in the lobby. Come on down, make a plate, it'll be here for the next hour. And then it's just you could bring it back up to your room. You can go sit at a table in the lobby. The kids can all sit on the floor with each other. I thought that was a nice move when you just don't want to deal with getting everybody out and about. One morning, props to my son's soccer team, we had to be up and out almost before the breakfast buffet started. I think we were at a Courtyard by Marriott, which, stay tuned, I have 2 Courtyard by Marriott, I won't say horror stories, but annoying stories. But the Courtyard by Marriott breakfast started at 7, and we had to be at our fields by 7:15 for an 8 a.m. game. So it might be opening, but it was also going to be cutting it really close to when we just needed to leave. So one of the dads ordered a bunch of Chick-fil-A chicken minis, and again, just put them in the lobby and said, hey, everyone, at 7 a.m. on the dot, there's going to be a ton of a couple trays of chicken minis. come on down and have some breakfast. And the kids loved that. And sometimes people just like take one for the team, literally, see what I did there, and take it upon themselves to do this. And I think that's really awesome. You could also totally just pull the group and say, hey, we were thinking chicken minis for the morning. Whoever's up for it, Venmo me $5. That will kind of, help with the cost a little bit. And then you're the one that runs out and gets them. So bringing food to the players, I think, is way less stress than trying to get everybody to eat out. One last story before I move on to hotels, just about eating. So this last soccer tournament we were outside of Memphis, Tennessee, in Collierville, Tennessee. And what I always am like trying to sidebar tell people on the soccer team is we don't have to walk into a restaurant and say, we have a group of 30. I'm like, just like buddy up with another family and say, we've got 8. And they'll seat the 8. And then the next people say, we've got 5. And they'll seat the 5. Like, that's way less intimidating to a restaurant than like, can you please seat 30? But nobody listens to me. So we keep showing up and saying we have 30. So this last tournament, we had like a big break over lunch. And some people walked into the sports bar and it was like, can you accommodate 30? And they were like, no, we can't. So then like all these people were en route to this place and there were all these text messages flying. They can't accommodate us. They can't accommodate us. I'm like, can they accommodate some of us? Like, I'm sure 8 of you can sit down, 6 more of you can sit down. And then the rest of us could go to like another restaurant down the street. Like, I'm like, do we all have to be together this whole time? But so then we went to a different place where they were very nice and accommodating. They put us at one long table. It was kind of like a side sun patio corridor of the restaurant. We had one long table, 30 people. All the boys were at one end. Some of the women were in the middle and all the men were on the other side because they wanted to watch a soccer game that was on, like on the TVs. Well, the men all proceed to order beers and they're like, woohoo, team lunch. The kids are bananas, so loud. It's like concrete floor and kind of a low overhang. So it's like echoing like crazy. And it's one of those restaurants where, I kid you not, if you stand up and push your chair back, it is the loudest rumble, screech, almost where it like catches you off guard how loud the chairs are. Well, the kids were never sitting still. So it's just a constant, the chair move screeching noises like nonstop. They're like eating sugar packets. And on this trip, it was mostly dads and like a few moms, but like, a lot of these tournament weekends, you have to divide and conquer. So they're mostly dads. Okay. The dads were MIA, into the soccer game, into the beers, into their phones. That's it. They did not have a child with them. So the couple moms were sitting there, we're trying not to like overparent a kid that's not ours, but it's like, hey, maybe stop breaking up all the crayons with your fork. Can you stop stabbing the crayons with your fork, please? Not my child, but that's gross and messy. And now you've got crayon on your fork and we're making a huge mess at the table. Hey, can you guys stop eating the sugar packets? Like, that's not going to be good for your next game. Stop. Hey, can you guys quiet down, please? Like, lower your voices the whole time. Not to mention when everybody finally orders and the servers are coming out and they're like, who got a kid's burger? The dads, nowhere to be found. Now, mind you, they were at the table, but this was not their worry. I don't know. Sometimes I joke that I want to come back as a man someday, a married man, where I'm just like, I don't really have that many concerns. I just do what I want to do. So this other mom and I are trying to like figure out what each kid ordered, get their food to them. And I am like, these are not my 10 children. Again, this is why these massive meals do not work well for me. We just kept looking at each other like, it is so loud. The dads have no clue what's going on. Half the time when the servers were like calling out what they got, they weren't even listening. I'm like, hey, yo, bro, I think you ordered the chicken wrap. They've said it 3 times. And they're like, oh, what? So anyways, those are the type of team meals you can look forward to. It's super fun.
I'm Brian. I work at United Healthcare.
So Brian, why do you care?
I care because I don't want to leave anybody behind. I oversee one of the biggest resource center in United Healthcare. I see people walk in my office every day, just like my parents. They have no idea about the healthcare. I feel like they are my uncles, aunties. I treat these people like family. I'm Brian, and I'm committed to care.
Okay, let's talk about hotels. The reality is you often don't get a say of what hotel you want to stay in. Sometimes it's actually almost legally required for you to stay. It's something called stay and play, and I don't really understand it fully, but it's like, actually, let me look it up so I can explain this. Okay, yeah, I looked it up. So it's called stay to play, and I'm just going to read what Google says. Stay to play rules in youth sports mandate that teams and families booking lodging for tournaments use approved hotels and booking systems designated by the event organizer. Failure to comply can lead to team disqualification, fines, or loss of entry fees. These policies often apply outside of a certain radius, so maybe 30 to 50 miles away from your place. I know, if you are not in this world, it sounds crazy. Someone can mandate where I stay, but yes, that is how it goes. I think it's because they don't want other people booking super nice hotels and then there being like this whole discrepancy. They want the team to be together so they have eyes on everybody. It's a whole thing. So if you're under the stay to play rules, you literally kind of have to stay where they say. It's typically not a very nice hotel. And then even if you're not under those rules, like we don't have stay to play rules with the dance competitions, but you kind of want your kids to be with the other kids and to be able to run around and to be able to swim and all that. So in that case, you are allowed to book a different hotel or an Airbnb off property, but then you're driving back and forth and your kid's missing out on some of the fun. So in my experience, I'm often staying where the team stays. And in my experience, most of those hotels are not that nice. But you deal with it. It's fine. Okay, so most recently though, somehow I've stayed back to back at Courtyard by Marriott's. And I don't want to put this on blast, but we've had two kind of unique, very annoying experiences. So I'm like, maybe I'm just not a Courtyard by Marriott girly. I don't know. The first one, a lot of you have probably already heard if you follow me on Instagram, which I'm just my name, Kelsey_Graves on Instagram, or if you listen to the episodes regularly. But this one was kind of bizarre. I'll just tell it quickly since I've already told it on the podcast once before. But my girls and I show up in Allen, Texas, which is outside of Dallas, Texas, kind of late for a dance competition. We are rolling these huge dance glamour gear bags. They're these big bags that they use to like hang all their costumes on a rack, get ready with, all that. So we've got two sparkly glamour gear bags. We've also got other luggage because like those bags only hold all their dance stuff. So we also need our other clothes and toiletries and stuff. We roll in kind of late. They tell us to go to a room. Let's call it 301. So we're like, thank you. We roll up to 301 with all these bags. We open the door. And the room is unmade. There are no sheets on the beds. There are piles of sheets and pillows like on the floor. It doesn't necessarily look dirty, but it definitely doesn't look ready to go. And it's like a little unsettling. You don't often see hotel rooms like disheveled unless you were the one that did it. It's a little like, ew, gross. This was someone else's situation. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, girl. So we roll these bags on this carpet, like this thick carpet that like, it's kind of like hard to roll these big heavy bags on, all the way back down the hallway, back down the elevator. We go up to the guy. We're like, I'm so sorry, but we just went into our room and it is unmade. Like the beds are not made. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry. That should never happen. I'm going to switch you. So then he switches us to another room on the same floor. He's like 310. I'm like, okay. So we go back up. Walk into 310, same thing. Sheets are not on the bed. There are pillows stacked on the floor. This one, actually, there's like a trash can pulled out of place with like trash still in it. I'm like, what is going on? And my oldest is so tired at this point. She goes, maybe we're just supposed to make the beds. And I'm like, honey, no, we are not supposed to make the beds. This is what we're paying for. So we roll back down all those suitcases. Actually, I think this time they didn't even come back down. They're like, we're going to sit in this hallway. You tell us what's going on. I go back down. Some of the other dance families have been in the lobby during this whole time, and they're like, are you joking? I'm like, yeah, second time. So we go back down, get different. He goes, I'm going to move you to a different floor. I'm like, thank you. I feel like it was only 2 times. Now my memory's like messing with me, and I'm like, was it 3 times? But no, I think it's only 2 times that happens. He gives me breakfast vouchers, which was nice for the next morning, and new room keys. Now we've been moved to like floor 4. 3rd time's the charm. We go in, our room's ready, but it's just like an unsettling way to start. It was odd. I don't know what happened with their like housekeeping system, but I was like, okay, we're here. We got our free breakfast with our vouchers, which was nice. And then I did get advice from a lot of you on Instagram when I posted about this to call Marriott Bonvoy before I left and request points for the inconvenience. So I did that. I think she ended up giving me, was it 5,000 points? I can't remember, but better than nothing. So that's always something you can do. If they can't issue any sort of monetary compensation, they can issue you points. Now it's whether you want to take the time to do that and sit on hold and explain everything. They're going to file a claim, but you are more likely to get points like that if you call while you're still checked in. You have not checked out yet. The stay isn't closed. You do it while you're checked in. So just a little tip there. Now, moving on to our next Courtyard by Marriott, which was most recently outside of Memphis, Tennessee, in Collierville, Tennessee. This one was fine. It was a fine hotel. Nothing really to complain about. It was weird because they had put a new facade up, so it looked brand new from the outside, but then like the rooms and the bathrooms were pretty old, and I was like, ew, don't be tricky like that. But our bathroom was pretty old, but whatever. We had our first night there, fine, did a full day of soccer. Second night, my son had gone to bed at like 10 because he had soccer the next day on Sunday. I went up to the room around 10:30, and I ended up going to bed 10:30 or 11. My husband was hanging out with some of the dads in the lobby. He comes up at a later, like 11:45, and discovers there is a leak coming from the ceiling of our bathroom. It is like drip, 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 drip. And it's actually like a couple different spots, leaking into the sink, leaking onto the floor. And he's like, oh gosh. And he's looking up and he just sees it all coming down. Also, he doesn't know what kind of water this is. This is clearly leaking from another bathroom above us. So we don't know if this water's like contaminated, and it's leaking like all over our stuff on the sink and onto the floor. Son and I are asleep, so we don't even know this is going on. So he goes back down to the lobby, explains the situation. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. There's only one person working at the hotel at this point. Everybody else has gone home. Maintenance, housekeeping, whatever. So she gives him, well, he says, I need a room with either 2 queen beds or a king and a sleeper sofa. We were in a king with a sleeper sofa. My husband and I were in the king. My son was on the pull-out couch. And she said, okay, there is another room on your floor, the only other open room in the whole hotel, because it was like packed to the brim with soccer teams. And he said, it has enough beds? And she said, yes. He goes up to that room, opens the door. It has 1 bed, no sleeper sofa. It's ADA compliant, like handicap wheelchair compliant. So it has more space to move around and doesn't have the same layout. And I'm like, I think my husband's like, I'm not waking up my son and wife out of like a dead sleep to try to cram all of us into 1 bed. Because the beds were fine. We were asleep in beds. That was fine. It's just like if anyone got up in the middle of the night, it's like, don't use the bathroom. So then he goes back down and she's like, there's nothing I can do. And he's like, do you want to go check on the room above us? Like why there's water coming down? And she was like, oh, that's an out of service room. He was like, even more reason to go check on what's going on. Don't you want to like figure this out? He was like, I'm a business owner. I'll go help and like be like walk in there with you. And she's like, no, I don't remember. She's probably like, I don't want you walking into a hotel room with me, you crazy man. So to make a long story kind of short, basically she says, keep the key for the other room and you can use that bathroom in the morning or overnight if you need to, which is like so awkward. So we all end up waking up at like 6:45 and my husband's like, the bathroom's been flooding. Now, the water did stop eventually, which was great, like the leak, but the floor was still generally covered with mysterious water and some of the sink. He packed up the whole bathroom the night before so that there wasn't like water on our stuff. So the next morning at 6:45, we're like groggy. Everybody like needs to pee and needs to brush their teeth. And so we like throw all our stuff in our bags and like shuffle down the hallway. And it was like we were on one end and this room was like past the elevators all the way on the other end. And I had brought my like Aerie Christmas pajamas because they're like the brand Aerie. They're like lightweight and cooling, but still long sleeves and long pants. And when I'm in a hotel, especially not a nice hotel, I really like to be almost fully covered, like get in my little hazmat suit before I get into the bed. So I'm like in my red Christmas pajamas, shuffling down the hallway because I just did not have the energy to like get fully dressed before I like brushed my teeth, peed, and washed my face. So I'm like shuffling down the hallway, like, please don't see anybody in your Christmas pajamas, like with sleep lines still on your face. Luckily, I didn't. So we literally shuffled all our stuff from one room all the way down to another room and then got ready in that room. Super awkward, right? But whatever. I mean, it's just part of staying in hotels, I guess. Or I should say it's part of staying in Courtyard by Marriott's. But my husband has called. He didn't have time to do it while we were there and checked in. We had to get up and out over to tournament games. Like we just didn't have time to deal with it. But he did call Courtyard, or he called Marriott Bonvoy on our drive home, explain the situation. He has a video. He's like, should you threaten to post it? I'm like, no, we're not going to be those people. But we do have a video of the leak and everything. So they filed a claim. He even sent the video in to like add to the claim. He's requesting that night be fully refunded because the room was like unusable, kind of like the bathroom was unusable. And it really puts hotels in perspective when stuff like this happens because it's like, okay, love a nice hotel, but at the end of the day, all you need is a bed and a bathroom. That's it. And when one of those doesn't work out, it's kind of tough. And so we'll see. It's like in the claims now, and I think we're supposed to hear back in a few days. So if I remember, I'll update you guys on that. But so those were our two fun Courtyard by Marriott recent dance and soccer experiences. So I don't know the point I'm trying to make with those stories, except buckle up and you're just going to have to deal with some random hotels.
I'm Brian. I work at United Healthcare.
So, Brian, why do you care?
I care because I don't want to leave anybody behind. I oversee one of the biggest resource centers in United Healthcare. I see people walked in my office every day, just like my parents. They have no idea about the healthcare. I feel like they are my uncles, aunties. I treat these people like family. I'm Brian, and I'm committed to care.
Okay, let's move on to some of the funny and sweet moments that only happen because you are out of town for sports or activity travel. Sometimes it can feel chaotic. Sometimes the accommodations aren't super nice. Sometimes the entire weekend can feel completely out of your control. But there's also a lot of really sweet and memorable moments that come from these weekends. So one fun recent one, which you may have seen on my Instagram, was the viral dumpling moment in Dallas. So a couple weeks ago was when the dumplings were going crazy. I think they still are, these viral dumpling squishies. And my oldest was like, oh my gosh, there's a Five Below in our complex. They have viral dumplings. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, there's these dumplings that are viral on TikTok. They're like little squishy toys. So both my girls and I walk over to Five Below and they're like, we don't have the dumplings. And I'm like, okay. They said, but we are expecting a shipment today and it hasn't come yet. And I'm like, oh, will there be dumplings in that shipment? She says, I think so. She said, normally the shipment has already been here by now. It normally comes in the morning. We don't know why it's not here, but it's not. And I'm like, okay. So we go back to the room. And at this point, we need to get them ready for their first dance. And so they need to do their hair and makeup and get ready. And there's like a time period where I have time to walk back over there, but they don't. So my oldest is like, I'll do my little sister's makeup if you go check again. And at this point, it's been like an hour or two. So some time has passed. Maybe the shipment has come. And I'm like, why not? I have nothing better to do. I'm sitting in like a random Courtyard by Marriott in Dallas, Texas. Sure, it's a beautiful sunny day. So I make my way back over to Five Below. And as I'm approaching, I can see a big semi truck pulled up to the back of Five Below. I'm like, the shipment's there. Oh my gosh. Mind you, also, like, everyone on the team has found out I'm doing this, and they're like, buy me one, buy me one, buy me one. And I'm like, I'll buy as many as I can. But my girls each wanted two. And we have a kid at home too, a boy who would be like into this as well. So I get there and the woman already knows who I am because I was in there before. And I look at her and I go, dumplings? And she goes, yep, they're right here. So I go get in line. There's like a pallet of these stupid dumplings. And I'm like, how many can I buy? And she says 5. And I'm like, great, give me 5. It's Five Below. So I think they were $5 each probably. So $25. And I'm like, FaceTiming my daughter. I'm like, you're not going to believe this. I got them. And they're like screaming and jumping up and down. And they're like, oh my gosh. So I get back to the room. They are so excited. They start like filming themselves opening it. They actually got 5 different colors, which is pretty crazy. I thought maybe since I took them all from the same palette, we'd get the same one. They were these kind that you have to sit in the sun on a ledge for them to like color change into their color. So when you first open them, they're all just like a white dumpling. Yes, like a dumpling you would eat, like a white dumpling. And then you put them on the windowsill and they all changed. And it was like pink, yellow, orange, green, and blue. They were actually kind of cute. It was kind of fun. So they're just like loving life, taking pictures with them, FaceTiming their friends, freaking out. I did tell all the other parents, I'm like, hey, if your kids are on this viral dumpling kick, they're at Five Below right now. Feel free to run on over there. And as silly as that was and is, it's like a very memorable moment for us where the silly viral TikTok moment, we were able to like get the fun toy, be there. I was able to have like a fun moment with my girls, and we still joke about it and talk about the dumplings from Dallas. And like, we're never sitting around like, oh yeah, we have a bunch of time to drive around to different Five Belows and see if they have dumplings. When my kids ask for that on a normal week, I'm like, are you kidding? No, we are not going hunting for those. But when you're away at a dance competition and you've got time to kill, you will go on a dumpling hunt. Another super fun moment and memory I had with my daughter. This is when I still tried to, this was the very first dance competition weekend in Orlando I was telling you about, where I still was trying to hold on to a little control of our plans. She was so young that she didn't have dances on one of the days because she wasn't in as many dances. So on Sunday, she had nothing. And our flight didn't fly out till like 9 or 10 p.m. And I was like, do you want to go to Epcot? And she was like, oh my gosh, yes, yes, yes. As they get older, which is the right thing to do, they kind of want to stick around and like support the team and cheer on, you know, the other dancers, or if it was a soccer tournament, like go cheer on the team above or below you. So this isn't happening as much anymore, but this was like, we were brand new to everything and we didn't really know anybody yet. And she was like, let's do it. So kind of completely on a whim, which was so fun. We bought 2 tickets to Epcot, no fast pass, no nothing, just took an Uber over, like checked our luggage at the hotel desk, and spent all day in Epcot, just the 2 of us. I will remember that day forever. It was like the first time I felt like I had a really big kid because she was my oldest, like had just turned 9, went on all these rides with me. We got all this fun food. It was just like the most effortless, fun day. It did start raining quite a bit, which was a little stressful because we had to like fly home pretty much in the clothes we were in. But we were just like running around, like buying ponchos, seeking shelter from the rain, and then going back out to another ride or meal. And we just had the best day. And again, that's something that only happens on one of these random weekends where you're away with your kid and you're like, oh my gosh, we've found ourselves in Epcot. Another fun thing that the group will do on the soccer tournament weekends with my son, which this works out way better for the food situation, is they'll find a brewery or a beer garden where it's like all outdoors, picnic tables. Sometimes there's live music, and typically those places you can either just like walk up to a counter to order your meal or a beer or whatever, or a lot of them will have food trucks. So this is much more relaxing where the boys can run wild. They can be silly and just have fun. And the parents can all grab food or a drink and just kind of, then it's not like we're trying to order for 30 people from one server. And so those are some really fun outdoor moments where the kids are playing, the parents are having fun getting to know each other. And again, it's like hard to coordinate those things back in town. I really like those moments. And from all of these weekends, I have so many photos that bring me so much joy that I put on my little digital picture frame. Because really what it's about is your kid putting themselves out there, being involved in something, trying something new, competing at something that they're definitely not the best at. There's always going to be better soccer players, better dancers, but they put their best foot forward. You know, sometimes they win, sometimes they get first place, sometimes they don't. And that is what the weekend is all about, is them learning about competition, learning to be a team player, learning how to deal with loss, and spending time watching your kid do what they love. So I see these weekends a whole lot differently than I used to, and I really look forward to them now. Whether the hotel's not going to be nice or whatever, I try to go to as many as I can. And it's hard for us because we have to divide and conquer, but whenever I can make it to a soccer tournament, I'm there. Whenever my husband can make it to some of the dance competition stuff, he's there. It really brings us a lot of joy, despite some of the hiccups that come with it. So let's talk about a couple practical things that can help us survive these weekends with a little less stress. One thing is using points when you can. So a lot of us accumulate points through all the different platforms. And for me, it's kind of like, well, if I don't have to pay for this out-of-town weekend, that helps a little bit. And I was recently on another podcast, the Wonderland on Points podcast, and I don't think they do as much of this sports travel where we have it like times 3. So they were like, why would you buy this? I was talking about my Grand Canyon trip, and they were like, why would you pay cash for flights? Like, we never do. And I was like, oh, well, we're always depleting our points. It's not like we only use them for fun trips. Like, we're flying for sports and using points all the time. So it's like when we have points, yay. But a lot of times we don't have points because we just had to use them to fly to Orlando for 3 people. And they're like, oh, I never really thought about that. So using points when you can is great. Another thing I've noticed is sometimes they often always create like a booking link, and you can book through the link. Just go, you assume that that's going to be the cheapest rate. Like, you're getting a room block, so it should be the cheapest. Go ahead and look on like Expedia and those places. A lot of times I find a cheaper rate, and then you can book through that. You're still staying at the same hotel. Is it Expedia that has that one key thing now? I think I've actually racked up a lot of random points, cashback points, by doing that, because the hotel is like $20 cheaper, and then I get these points. And now I think like every time I check in, I have like $8 or $10 more money to take off my room booking because I'm just like accumulating points over on that platform. Of course, you guys know I have my Instacart strategy for when we're traveling on a plane. So if we're traveling by car, then I'll usually pack a cooler with some snacks and drinks and all that kind of stuff so that we don't have to stop once we're there, and we'll just have some stuff in our hotel room. So that's great. But when I am flying, I always like to build my Instacart before I leave. So on a random Wednesday or Thursday, I will sit at my computer, put the hotel address into Instacart where I'm going, and it will say, you seem a little far from here. Are you sure you want to shop this address? And I say yes. And it will pull up the grocery stores near that address. So in Orlando, it's usually a Publix. And then I can go ahead and build my cart on a very low stress day. Cereal cups, tiny things of milk, granola bars, snacks, maybe some electrolyte drinks. A lot of times we'll do hard-boiled eggs. So whatever your family likes, just building that cart at home. And then when you land at your destination and you're en route, like in your Uber, or even just when you land, because it never really comes in within the hour, you press start shopping. So that's done. Now someone's shopping. By the time you get to your hotel, your groceries will arrive like 30 minutes later. And it's just like takes the stress out of figuring that all out on the fly. Another thing I like to do is have a downtime strategy. So bring a good book that you've really been wanting to read. Go to the library and check out a new book. Bring work or have your running to-do list with you. You know, I've been meaning to clean out my email. I need to fill out these summer sports forms. I need to sign up for summer camps. Whatever you could do that makes that downtime worthwhile is so helpful because you will find you'll have like 3 hours in your hotel room where you're not needed, which is actually lovely, to be honest. And you can get some stuff done. You can read a book. You can go out to the pool. A lot of people I know will utilize the workout rooms. So bring your tennis shoes and your AirPods and get a walk or a run in on a treadmill. I think just planning ahead of time what you'd like to do in those downtimes can be helpful so you can bring that stuff. And then when you find yourself with those hour or 2 hour long chunks, it's like, oh, here's my downtime. Let's be productive with it. Also, some things I always pack on these types of trips. Definitely a couple garbage bags for dirty clothes at the end. This just helps separate the dirty from the clean. It can also help if like you have a rainy soccer tournament. You can put all the wet clothes in that at the end. A lot of people will also bring like Kroger grocery bags. You can put wet cleats in there for the car ride. So just having some sort of like plastic baggies, garbage bags or grocery bags can be really helpful for trips like this. Even having a garbage bag in the room, because you're going to be eating a lot of snacks. You might end up with like takeout food from the quick service breakfast place downstairs, and now you've got like boxes and stuff, and those hotel trash cans literally hold nothing. So having an extra garbage bag that you can just like hook to a doorknob and keep all your stuff, your garbage in one place can be helpful. I also like to bring these cheapy plug-in Amazon nightlights. I'll just buy like a 4-pack from time to time, and then I pack them in my suitcase. And a lot of the old hotels, like a Courtyard by Marriott, have no light in the bathroom. Newer hotels like might have that under the sink lighting that kicks in when you walk in, or their outlets might have a glowing portion on the outlet so that there is a little light at night. But the old hotels do not have this. So when it's lights out, it's like pitch black. And then your kid like can't go to the bathroom, or if they do, they turn on that like fluorescent hotel light and wake the entire room up. So I always travel with cheap night lights. I just keep them in our travel area, like near our travel sound machines, near our passports. And then I grab one and throw it in my suitcase. The biggest challenge with this is that I almost always forget to take them out of the wall. I actually remembered this last soccer tournament trip and I was so proud of myself, but you got to remember to take them out of the outlet because that's the one thing you could miss when you're cleaning up. But that has been so nice. You can even sleep with the door a little cracked then. You've got like a tiny bit of light coming in if people need to shuffle around the room at night. Love having a night light to plug into the bathroom. I also, of course, have my travel sound machines. I used to throw our huge regular sound machines in, and that is just like not worth it. They've got great small travel ones now. I'll link the ones we use in the show notes. Those come in handy for any of these weekends where there are kids running around hotels, sometimes kids being silly and knocking on doors late at night. Just crank that sound machine up. And then, of course, you guys know my hanging toiletry bag, which I've been talking about for like 5 years now, but it just has a hook on it. And so that way you can hook it on the back of the door or on a towel rack and all your stuff is off the counter. So you're here with your kids, there's stuff everywhere. Your stuff is contained in a toiletry bag that's zipped up and you know where all your stuff is and it's not getting dripped on by water coming from the hotel room above you. And then I think the last thing just to be prepared for on these weekends is like reintegrating back into life after these weekends. Because it's not like you've been on some relaxing vacation and you're just like, there's a pep in your step and you're all rested. No, you're usually like a little disoriented when you come back from these, especially dance competitions or like cheer competitions, volleyball, the ones where you're indoor all day for like an entire day, like in a gym or in a ballroom with like loud music, loud noises. You are a little like, what day is it? What is happening? You've got like bags full of dirty jerseys and socks or dirty costumes, smelly shoes. You get home, you're like, we need to do laundry. I don't know what day it is. I'm so overstimulated. We need groceries. You just kind of need to be prepared that like re-entry is kind of hard. Sounds so dramatic, like I'm going to space and back. But I usually try my absolute best not to plan anything major on the day after one of these trips. And you can't always control that. But I try not to record a podcast episode. I try not to have like appointments that matter. Just keep that day as open as possible because you are going to be like, we need groceries. I need to run that washing machine like 3 times. I need to stare at a wall in silence for 5 minutes. Re-entry can just be like a little whoa. So I'll tell one story from this most recent soccer tournament to kind of like close us out, just on having these perspective shifts and mindset shifts that can really help these weekends. So my son made it to the semifinals in soccer. It was very exciting because they had lost a game pretty badly and it was raining and bad weather. So we thought there's no way they're going to make it to the semifinals. Well, they ended up making it and had to play that same team again that they lost to. But this time it was a beautiful sunny day. They ended up playing some of the best soccer we've ever watched them play. Perfect passing. They won 3-0. And we were like, oh my gosh, they're going to the championship. This is so exciting. We hadn't been to a championship game in a while. All the parents were excited. Like I said, beautiful weather, like 72 and sunny. What a day. But we do have to wait around for like 3 or 4 hours. So if we had lost that semifinal game on Sunday, we would have been able to go home at like 10 a.m. Well, we made it to the championship, which meant our next game was at 2 p.m. So we had to kill time from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Then we play our championship game. We're all fired up. Everyone's excited. They just played some of the best soccer of their lives that morning. Let's go. Well, the team we're playing comes out guns blazing. Like every single kid on the soccer team was like, I want the ball. I'm going to sprint my heart out to get it. I'm going to run through people like I'm a little NFL lineman. Like every player was operating at 150%. We also knew that they had not played a game that day yet. They got a bye. So we were like a little tired and they came in fresh. Within like 5 minutes, they'd scored 2 beautiful goals. And it's like, okay, we're like getting deflated pretty quickly. By halftime, I think it was 5-0 or 0-5. We were losing. We were all bummed out. The energy on the sidelines was super disappointed. We do have some people on our team that can be a little vocal. If you know about to the kids and the players, and it's a little like, okay, it's youth sports. Let's like give it a rest. And I was pretty bummed out because I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to do this. And then I just had a moment. It like snapped in my head. And I was like, nope, let go of this game right now. This game doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of life. We are outside on a gorgeous day in Memphis. They have played great soccer up until this point. Unfortunately, they are just playing a team that is much, much better than them. They are just outmatched. That's all it is. It happens in professional sports all the time. Yes, they're going to be bummed. And yes, we're going to have to maybe have some conversations on the way home. But this should not affect you, Kelsey, emotionally at all. So I just decided in that exact moment, let the game go. I don't care if it's 12-0. I hope our team scores. Regardless, I'm happy to be alive, happy to be at this tournament with my kid. That's that. We did end up losing 0-7. The kids were bummed, but at this tournament, second place still gets medals, which is always fun. So we still got to go up to the pavilion where they were handing out the medals. Our coach took some time to congratulate each boy individually by name and put the medal around their neck. We got to take pictures with their friend and their team with like the little soccer tournament backdrop. And, their moods lightened. They got a beautiful medal. We all had a great weekend together. We had lots of fun hanging out as a team. The boys had a lot of fun swimming and running around the hotel and being silly. And that's what the weekend is about. It's not about this one game. Of course, it's always fun to win, but it's more important, I think, for these kids in life to learn how to bounce back from loss, failure, and disappointment, because that is a huge chunk of life, a huge chunk of building your career or a business is learning how to bounce back from those failures. So he was in fine spirits on the way home. We had a great weekend overall. And I just think snapping out of it sometimes at these weekends and having a perspective shift can change everything. I've realized if you only judge the weekend by the outcome of the game or the competition, you miss so much of what is making it special. The real win, in my opinion, in these weekends is the memories, the growth of your kid, the team bonding, and just getting this concentrated time with your kid in a season of life that you know won't actually last forever. Okay, I think that sums it up. My thoughts on youth sports and competition travel. I'll end this episode like I end every episode with a quote, and this one just made me laugh. It's a meme about youth sports, and it goes, "You're so lucky you're an adult and you can do whatever you want," says my 8-year-old on our way to her 7 a.m. hockey game. And that's it, right? We live our lives right now in this season to cater to our kids' growth and needs and sports. And like I said at the beginning, the more you can completely let go of that and let the weekend unfold organically for them, the better weekend you will have for yourself. All right, that's all I have. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Kelsey Unpacked, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Trip Tales. Don't forget to subscribe or follow the show, leave a review, or buy me a coffee. And if you do, you can picture me doing an actual happy dance. Also, if you have a trip you'd like to share about on the podcast, send an email to Kelsey@triptalespodcast.com and we'll get you on the schedule. I'll see you on the next episode of Trip Tales.
I'm Brian. I work at United Healthcare.
So, Brian, why do you care?
I care because I don't want to leave anybody behind. I oversee one of the biggest resource centers in United Healthcare. I see people walked in my office every day, just like my parents. They have no idea about the healthcare. I feel like they are my uncles, aunties. I treat these people like family. I'm Brian, and I'm committed to care.